Hey guys, Kurulean here, and it's been a little over a year since I last posted my Thresh guide, which got a lot of support, so I decided to make another one. So without further ado, welcome to my Season 10 Thresh guide. In this video, I'll be breaking down each component of Thresh into 9 different parts, which are general info, abilities, mechanics, runes, builds, counterpicks, laning, roaming, and warding. You can find a timestamp for each one in the description below. Thresh overall has a great stance in the meta, and has always been a great pick. Thresh is a tank support who uses his CC to set up plays for his team. He has a high pick potential and is very flexible. He is difficult to master, but when learned, he can be one of the strongest supports. Up next, we'll be going over each of Thresh's abilities. Starting off with his passive, Damnation. Damnation makes enemies, minions, and monsters that die near Thresh drop a soul. Small minions and monsters have a 33% chance of dropping a soul. Each soul gathered gives Thresh 0.75 ability power and armor. Enemies cannot see your souls unless they have vision of you. Note that this may seem OP, but Thresh does not gain armor per level. To maximize Thresh's passive, make sure to be constantly collecting your souls throughout the game. While doing so, make sure to never put yourself in any position of danger. It is better to leave one soul than to die and have your team flame you for trolling. Up next, we have Thresh's Q, Death Sentence. Thresh sends out a long-range skill shot that will stun and drag the enemy towards Thresh for 1.5 seconds. If Thresh hits an enemy, Death Sentence is reduced by 3 seconds. Thresh can then choose to recast Death Sentence to leap the target. Note that Thresh is disarmed throughout the entire casting animation. Moving on to Thresh's W, Dark Passage. Thresh throws out a lantern that shields allies for a small amount. An ally can choose to click the lantern, which will bring them towards Thresh. The lantern also gives vision around its radius. It can act as a ward for teleports, and it collects souls when thrown nearby. Thresh's E, Flay, has a passive and an active. The passive makes Thresh's basic attack deal bonus magic damage if Thresh has not attacked anyone for a while. To keep track of when your auto will do bonus damage, look at the bottom of your screen right here. When it turns red, that's when it will do the max amount of damage. Flay's active is a rectangular area which can be directed to either pull the enemy in or push the enemy out. Enemies are knocked up for 0.5 seconds and are slowed afterwards for 1 second. Flay can disrupt dashes, leaps, jumps, and other forms of mobility. Save your Flay to stop enemy escapes or to peel allies. For example, here's a clip from my most recent montage. Notice how I time my E to stop Lee Sin's Q, which allows us to turn and win the fight. This may be difficult, but can be learned over time. Thresh's ultimate, the box, surrounds Thresh with 5 walls. The box lasts for 5 seconds. If enemy champions touch the wall, they are slowed for 99% for 2 seconds, and they take 250 magic damage at level 1, 400 at level 2, and 550 at level 3. If enemies run into multiple walls, they will not take damage for a second time. For melee matchups level 1 through 3, you are going to go E first, Q second, and W third. And for the rest of the game, you are going to max Q first, E second, W third, and R whenever possible. The second skill order is against Poke and Burst, in which you go Q first, E second, W third for levels 1 through 3, and then Q first, W second, E third, and R whenever possible for the rest of the game. So for the mechanics section, we'll be going over Thresh's combos and how to predict people. The QQE is Thresh's bread and butter and is his most basic engage. The QWQE is the same thing but will bring an ally. The EQQ is for when you are up close with an enemy. The EQWQ brings an ally over when you are close. The FEQQ is an instant engage that will catch your enemies by surprise. The FQQE is an extended version of QQE. QRE will force your enemy into your ultimate. The QFQE is called Bunny Hop and is nicked after ex-pro player Bunny Fufu and will help bring an ally over from long distances. The WFEQ is another instant engage which will bring an ally. The fake hook basically makes your opponent confused on where you're going to hook because the direction of your hook is unknown until it comes out. Thresh has one single animation cancel. To perform this, you need to draw out your Q and spam your E excessively while in cast animation. This in turn will make your Q come out faster. With the lantern block, you can block enemies from entering the tighter side of their turret. I'm really not sure where this might come in handy, but the play exists and just make some use of it. For predicting, I'm going to bring up the concept of the scare meter. This is just a visualizer to help you guys see how scared enemies are. There are numerous ways to max this bar out. Let's break down this clip for example. Right now I'm a 1 on the scare meter because there's a lot of distance between me and Ezreal. As I approach Ezreal, the scare meter starts going up. I throw my lantern back to fake a gank. Finally, when I throw out my hook, Ezreal panics and eats right into it. Lower elo ADCs tend to panic more when exposed to a threat, so you can use this concept to predict people easier. There are 3 major rune pages for Thresh. The first is the most common and it's great if your team needs a tank and more engage. For rune stats, always take CDR and you mix up the armor and magic resist depending on your matchup. The second most common rune page is the Guardian page. This is good against poke and it's great for peeling your team from assassins. The last rune page I want to talk about is the Korean Thresh page. This page is a little unorthodox, but is great for snowballing and doing damage in the early game. This page is only situational, and should only be played when you're confident enough in your skill. For your build, there are 2 types of builds that you can play. Let's start off with his normal build. This build focuses on Thresh's tankiness and peel potential. You start steel shoulder guards with 2 potions. On your first back, you should have around 700 gold. Which should be enough for boots, cloth armor, a ward, and a pot. If your lane matchup is AD and AP, then you go ruby crystal instead of cloth armor. Make sure to buy control wards every time you back. On your second back, you should pick up mobility boots for roaming and a chain vest. Or if you went ruby crystal first, you can pick up a cloth armor. Your first item is going to be Knight's Vow. It gives 60 armor and allows you to indirectly tank and heal from your ADC. Your second item depends on the matchup. If the enemy is heavy AP, then go lock it first. If the enemy has AD, go Redemption. For your full build, you mix it up depending on your matchup. If they have AD, go Frozen Heart. If they have AP, go Stone Plate. Once you finish your full build, you can sell your mobility boots for Merc Treads or Ninja Tabi, because you won't be doing much roaming in the late game. The second build path is what I like to call Junkyard Thresh, due to the fact that you don't finish an item until very later on. This build focuses on CDR and increasing CC. The CDR complements Thresh's Qs, which already gets reduced by 3 seconds. On your second back, you should get CDR boots, Kindle Gem, and you can choose between Glacial Shroud or Forbidden Idol depending on your matchup. Everything else is relatively the same as Thresh's normal build. Moving on, I'll be going over Thresh's counterpicks and matchups. Blitzcrank, Soraka, and Lulu should all be favored matchups for Thresh, due to their poor utility and squishiness. Thresh goes even with champions like Braum, Alistar, Leona, and Morgana. These champions have utility that can do with Thresh's kit, such as Braum's shield, Alistar's W and R, Leona's entire kit, and Morgana's spell shield. Thresh does bad against champions with high poke and damage, such as Brand, Azara, and Vel'Koz. When Thresh walks up for an engage, he just takes so much damage from poke before the fight even starts. Note that this does not mean that you instantly lose the matchup. All these counter picks can be played around and learned. These are just picks that might be hard for newer players. Next up, we have laning phase. Thresh's main job is to always apply a threat in lane. Make sure to keep track of the enemy jungler throughout the game. You should also look to roam and establish vision whenever possible. I'll be talking about these later in the video. Your last job is to help your jungler with ganks. For example, let's say Lee Sin is ganking your lane. It is your job to remove enemy vision and to walk up to help close the gap for Lee Sin. A really good way to apply pressure is to control the bushes near the alcove. Since your enemies can't see when you hook, they will be under constant pressure. They will most likely also play on the opposite side of the lane, which can lead to successful ganks. If you're going against a hard engaged support like Alistar, try to stand closer to your ADC so that you can flame off when he engages. If the enemy jungler is camping you or the wave is shoved into your tower, you can stay in the back and lantern your ADC if you get ganked. Moving on, we have the concept of roaming. Roaming is a very powerful asset to have. It can help other lanes get ahead, keep your team safe with warding, and help secure control of Dragon. To set up a roam, you can either slow push a cannon wave to enemy tower, or roam when your ADC is recalling. Make sure to coordinate with your jungler to gank lane. For example, if Lee Sin was doing blue buff and I was in the river, I would ping him to go mid so that we could gank it together. The last concept I have to talk about is warding. This concept not only applies to Thresh, but to all supports. Make sure to buy control ward every time you back. When you roam, go into enemy jungle and place a deep ward. This will spot the enemy jungle early on. At game start, if the enemy jungle starts topside, make sure to ward here. It's a great spot and catches all ganking entrances. And I can't reiterate this enough. Don't get lazy with your warding. Stop placing your wards here. Place them at the edge of the bush. This will give you an extra 2 seconds to react to ganks. Place wards with reason. Don't just blindly place wards just because you have to. For example, if Dragon is coming up, you should place wards here. Here are some general warding spots. Last but not least, look at your map. If you don't look at your map, then wards are basically pointless. And that just about wraps up my entire guide. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to hit that like button and drop a sub while you're at it. Make sure to follow me on Twitter and Twitch. Links to those will be in the description below. If I didn't mention something in this video, feel free to leave it down in the comments. And I'll see you guys later.